Do we believe that Kouri Richins, in fact, poisoned her husband with fentanyl and got it from a housekeeper's friend of a friend of a friend to get out of her marriage because she felt trapped? And also, she was so in debt because her business was not going well. Or do we believe that she's being set up? Now, what's interesting is that this is day 6, and in day 6, a lot more stuff comes out. This is part 1. And the first person that they speak to or is on the witness stand, his name is Dr. Kouri Richins. Anyways, he's like the 3rd medical examiner. But this one, on the other hand, got a call from Kouri questioning the additional tests that they did on her husband because it then showed that he died from fentanyl poisoning. Now, when she's talking to him, she decides to record it. And that woman sounded like she was planning a trip to Disney World. It did not sound like she was trying to find out what happened to her husband. I mean, she's like, do you have the report in front of you? And he proceeds to tell her that the fentanyl amount, that it seems that it's not, coming from a pharmacy, that it must be like from you get it off the streets, like if it was a cartel, etc. I don't know why he used that type of wording, but whatever. And then he proceeds to tell her that also he had some type of psychotic medication in his system. He couldn't confirm if it was ingested or anything. They just know that it was in the blood. The expectation is that it was in fact ingested. Could have been ingested by drinking, all of that. He shares that also, around that time, they were receiving a lot of people that essentially were overdosing because they thought that they were buying like Roxy off the street, and they were trying to do whatever they could, inhale it, etc. And it was something that they started seeing more and more of and keeping tabs on. Now, also, he brings up the fact that some people will get like a certain reaction to taking it, and they instead start kind of like getting rashes and using allergy medication to kind of offset those type of interactions. Now, he then shares that they had to put his cause of death as unknown. They knew that it was due to a fentanyl overdose, but the fact of the matter is that they didn't know if someone had done it to him or it was in fact him that did it to himself, because he said, look, at this point we have medical records and there's nothing stating that he was taking these type of medications that were in his system. And that's why they would essentially put it as unknown. And also, because it was an open investigation during that time, if there is any type of suspicion, then they have to leave it as unknown. Now, the next witness per se, he wasn't there. His name is Robert Kozier, and he had testified yesterday. He was Carmen, the housekeeper's drug dealer. And he had shared yesterday that when they interviewed him, he was in withdrawals. He was going through it in the county jail, and that he didn't remember a lot of what he told them. He was trying to remember, but his head was fuzzy at the time. And so when he testified yesterday, he did so after going through the transcript to essentially remember what he talked about. So they showed the video, and he is just explaining, eventually he gets to it, that yes, that he had met her a few times, that he had given her pills. He kept saying that it was not fentanyl, and that it was oxy, and, just kind of making sure that they understood. What's interesting is that the agents ended it with, we knew all of this information before you even gave it to us. We have your phone records, all of that. Keep in mind, a lot of his phones were destroyed, but whatever. And that if he didn't cooperate, then at that point, they would essentially go after him because his drug, supposedly, that he gave Carmen, who gave it to Kouri, caused a death. But that, because he decided to cooperate, they're not going to go after him. The next witness that they bring, her name is Molly Crosswhite. And Molly was the one that closed on the house that was supposedly utilized as the drop-off location for said drugs. The house sold in January. Supposedly, Carmen, the housekeeper, was dropping off the drugs in that house. She said that she would go in there, she may put it in the fire pit, or that she may put it in a box inside of a closet in the house. Now, when Molly is interviewed, or when she testifies, she makes it clear when she closed that she really didn't know Kouri. She states that the house, though, was empty, I believe, until the end of March when they had renters move in. And the reason being is because even though she had rehabbed it, I want to know what kind of job she did, because they still said that there was like going to be another 10 grand that needed to be put into the house to bring it up to where it needed to be for them to be able to rent it. So out of those 2 months, the house was in fact empty. The locks were never changed, but also there were people there throughout the time, I believe 7 days total, they did have construction workers there, kind of doing the work that was required. So the defense asked her, was there a box in the closet? Like, because Carmen is saying, look, I put it in a box in a closet. And she said, I don't remember. All I remember is that there was a lot of stuff that they needed to clean out. If the box would have been big or significant, I probably would have said something, but I don't know if it would have been that big of a deal that I would notice. They said also that she did leave the key kind of underneath a cart rug or whatever to give it to the construction people, and the construction people were required, or she expected them to close or at least lock the doors. The next witness that we have, her name is actually Allison Wright. And Allison's husband is the business partner of, or was the business partner of Eric Richins, Kouri Richins' husband, that now has passed. She is testifying that they were in Costa Rica on a vacation, and that in that vacation, Kouri and her just alone chit-chatting, and that Kouri tells her that they were having marriage issues, that she was really struggling with their marriage, but that she felt trapped, and she felt trapped because she had signed a prenup, and that she knew that if she left, she wouldn't have anything, and he would essentially have all of the money, have all the funds, and that she was worried that her kids would feel that they wanted to be with their dad because she was not going to be able to provide them what they were going to be accustomed to, or the lifestyle that they were going to be accustomed to. Now, the defense then comes up and brings up the fact that before Eric's death, they stopped vacationing together. Amber, her husband, Cody, and Kouri and her husband, Eric. And she was like, well, it was due to COVID. She goes, was it due to COVID, or was it because Cody, Amber's husband, reported Eric to the Popos for supposedly violating some type of hunting laws? And that, of course, that created a disagreement. And she was like, well, I don't know. How do you not know if the police were called on your husband? But anyways, she said, oh, okay. Well, isn't it true that after Eric's death, you have now become close to Eric's sister? Remember I don't know if she's crazy, but I've talked about her before, about the fact that that man was found dead in the house, and the first thing she told police was, I'm over his will. I have control of everything. I don't know why you would say that, but whatever. That sister and her now travel together with their families. They're all really close. And she was like, well, we were always friends. She goes, oh, but now you're on vacations with them. Now you're actually going to court hearings with them as well, against Kouri. And she then asked her, like, did Kouri tell you this? Because at the time, it had come out that he was having an affair with someone at work. And that's why she felt trapped. And she was like, well, I don't remember. She goes, but did you know about this? She goes, well, I had heard about it, but I don't remember if it was, I had already known prior to or after the fact of the vacation. Because the whole point apparently was that the only reason Kouri said that is because they were talking about that said affair on the vacation.